Welcome to Greenhouse Grower to Grower, the podcast where we talk to growers from across the greenhouse industry about market trends, innovation, their biggest challenges and opportunities, and more. I'm Brian Sparks, editor of Greenhouse Grower. This week, Metrolina Greenhouses and South Central Growers announced a strategic merger. The two companies have a long history of collaboration and shared values and business philosophies, and together, they will form a growth-focused organization designed to respond to evolving consumer expectations as well as increasing industry complexity. While the news was breaking, I caught up with Abe VanWingerden, CEO of Metrolina Greenhouses, and Alex Van Der Hengst, CEO of South Central Growers, to learn more about why the two companies are coming together, the key attributes each company brings, and how they will be able to integrate all current employees into the new operation. Here's our conversation. Really the first thing I want to ask, and this is great news, by the way, it sounds like for both of your companies and for the industry. First thing is, why this announcement, and in particular, why was now the best time to make this move?
Yeah, I think, we've looked at things over the last 10 years in this industry, and we've been able to grow different ways as a company. We've grown organically just by selling more plants, in the categories we've been in. We've been able to grow by adding more categories. So we've gotten into the perennial business in 2014 and the shrub business in 2016 and other businesses. And we've been able to grow through acquisition. We bought Stacey's Greenhouses in 2014, but this one is unique. It's different. It first of all brings together two strong, healthy companies. Number two, it's an acquisition. It's not an acquisition. It's a merger. So Alex and his team will become shareholders in Metrolina Greenhouses, and they will have daily roles here, just like Art, myself, Thomas, and Michael do. So all seven of us will have specific roles in the organization. And this is not an exit plan for anybody. Everybody's staying engaged. Everybody thinks this combination can be super healthy, can be super strong, and we'll have efficiencies through growth. That is the way we'll generate efficiencies, through growing our mutual business together.
Okay. Alex, from your perspective, yeah, please.
Yeah, from my perspective, and for my brothers, Ron and Tim, we kind of have just been looking at the landscape over the last decade, right? And when you look at companies our size, $40 to $60 million sales revenue type, look, a lot of bankruptcies have occurred, with those companies. Several have been acquired. Their consolidation is what's occurring in our world. And,
sure.
My brothers and I, we want to keep operating. We want to continue being operating owners, and we didn't want to be acquired. And then when this opportunity came up with Metrolina Greenhouses, it was just the perfect fit. Not just from, everything that they stand for, but, as family and friends, it just made a lot of sense moving forward.
Okay. And it's good to be able to tell a success story like that, because, as you said, there are situations in this industry of companies having to shut down, I'll say, for a variety of reasons. And when you get the chance to keep the legacy of a company going, whether it's through passing it to the next generation or becoming an employee-owned program, or in this case, through a merger like this, it's good news for everybody involved. Every company in this industry is different. So I do want to ask, what are some of the individual attributes or strengths that each company brings to this new organization then?
Yeah, and I'll start, but I'll do it this way. I'll talk about the strengths that South Central brings to our team, because I think that's important, and maybe Alex can do the opposite. I look at, number one, a strong ownership team who is involved in the daily work that happens. And so you're going to have an engaged ownership group coming onto our team. They also have some very talented individuals that were perfect for us to merge into our team to take on leadership roles in other areas. So that was really cool, not just at the Springfield location, but within our entire organization. So I look at it that way. Number two, our stores are contiguous to each other, so this is a very natural logistics layover. The stores we go to, the next store 10 miles down the road, Alex and his team cover going west from there. So from a geography standpoint, this is just fits like a glove from that standpoint. This isn't we're merging with a facility that's different than we cover from a product mix basis and things of that nature. And then I think third, it's like-minded companies. The beauty of South Central is we share a lot of best practices already. This isn't the first time we met each other, on a prospectus book. These are two companies whose dads grew up together. who we've grown up together. We do things together outside of work. So it's such a natural fit from a culture standpoint that will really make this merger day one hit the ground running. So we're excited about that.
Okay. Yeah, and for us, obviously, the size and reach of Metrolina is pretty amazing, and it's not just their facilities. You go to York or you go to Huntersville, it's awesome to behold, right? When you go there, but that also has allowed them to develop things like ERP systems that are completely customized and fit for this organization. That's not something that we at South Central Growers can do. The app development that they've been sharing with us, from labor tracking, labor modeling, and all of these things, just absolutely amazing. And then, as the need for service, in-store service continues to be, requested by our customers, companies our size just have a difficult time standing up a service team, and Metrolina already has that, and we're going to be able to take full advantage of that moving forward.
Okay. Abe, you mentioned a second ago that, both Metrolina and South Central Growers have collaborated many times in the past. I would imagine both at the personal and professional level. How has that helped? And how do you see continuing to help during this transition?
Yeah, a couple of things. First, and most importantly, there is 100% trust between the two companies. So we didn't spend a lot of time with lawyers and merger teams trying to figure out how to make this happen. This was a conversation among owners. We figured out what best looked like pretty quickly because we both have the same goal in mind, which is we think we can grow faster together and more efficiently than we can separate. So that's first. Secondly, I just think that, the trust comes from years of history together. South Central has proven themselves as one of the top growers in this country. And so we just love that it fits with us. There won't be a lot of work we have to do to change it. Won't be a lot of work we have to do to conform to the way we do things. It's going to be a combination of ideas, and our systems and their systems emerge together nicely.
Yeah, and from our aspect, Brian, there's a couple of different things. Right? Our growers, so my brothers, Ron and Tim, are both growers by trade. So I'm the sales guy. My brother Ron now does production. Tim's the head grower. But they've already been interfacing with Yvonne and his team at the Metrolina level. So the growing practices they've already been sharing, and then the contract grower network. We utilize dozens of different contractors all around the country. Only 2 of them are unique to South Central Growers. So all the other ones we were already sharing, and I think Abe will go into this a little bit more. But if you think about it now, right, 2 UPCs, 2 different, all of these things are all going to be blended together. So our contract grower network is going to become only more efficient with the merger.
Both of your organizations, I assume, are well into planning for spring 2026. So, the fact that you're making this announcement near the end of 2025, do you see any initial effect on each of your customers as the planning for 2026 continues to move into high gear?
No, I think there never is a worst time or best time to do this, but I do think from a planning cycle, spring of 26 is already in plan, and we're both going to run our plays here for the first 6 months. And then come summer, it's a perfect time to transition into the fall season. And we met with all of our customers, Alex and I did last week. And I think there was a lot of excitement, natural timelines to make the transition come this summer and into fall. And there was a lot of go forward mentality from the groups there. So I don't feel like there's going to be a lot of wobbling as we go into it along the way. We're not introducing, again, new product lines or new customers or new team members we don't know. So again, that trust is going to be very important.
Yeah, and just because we're running 2 different, I should say, that we each have our own production schedule in place for spring doesn't mean there won't be a lot of synergies already moving forward. If product needs to be shifted or help needs to be given in certain areas, obviously that's going to be facilitated a lot easier when we're merged together.
One of the things that did stand out to me as I was looking over the news is, the fact that, it sounds like as of January 26th, the South Central brand will be sunsetted and incorporated into Metrolina. So have you started to have conversations with your customers about just making sure that they're aware of how that's going to work?
Yeah, I mean, again, Alex and I met with all of our key customers last week in person. I don't think that was an issue for them. I'm super humbled and proud of Alex's team willing to come over to the Metrolina brand name. I think it makes us more consistent. The concept is no matter where you get product from, it's all consistently done, and there's a way we do things together. So you don't feel like if I order from Springfield or York or Hunters, I'm going to get something different. And I think it just makes it easier to communicate with our teams around the way we do policies and the way we do processes. There just makes it a lot easier to say Metrolina York, Metrolina Huntersville, Metrolina Springfield.
Yeah, and in the industry line, I mean, it's very evident, right, that the Metrolina brand is much more recognizable than the South Central Growers brand. So, as part of this merger, we're super excited to fall underneath that brand and to be called Metrolina Greenhouses Springfield moving forward.
Okay. Abe, you've said in the past that, a grower shouldn't cut his way into profitability. You should grow your way into there. How does that apply to, what you guys are trying to do now as a company?
Yeah, I think it's a perfect example, this merger, of how we can do that. The way I've always said that and believed that, Brian, is most growers in this country operate very efficiently today. Small family firms like this don't have a lot of overhead. They don't have a lot of fat to cut. So when we put our books together initially earlier this year, there wasn't like we found $10 million of savings of bloat in either one of our organizations. So the way we're going to make this work is to just grow faster, and that will lead to efficiencies. I just don't think there's a way to go in here. And these PE firms try to find it and they can't find it, or they find it in cutting the wrong people, like the owners who are running the facility. So we're excited with the merger to allow us to grow. We see $50 to $100 million of growth in our future pretty quickly if we do this correctly.
Any thoughts from you, Alex, on that at all? Or
Yeah, I mean, that's what Abe said is obviously we're completely on board with that. We know that, we're in part of the country that is growing very quickly. Middle Tennessee's seen a lot of growth, and west of us as well. And obviously our location is going to be a very good spot for some of this growth to come. I think Abe has mentioned it, several times. For us to grow 10% would be adding on 3 acres, right? Mm-hmm. For this conglomerate now to add on 10% would be 40-acre expansion. And so that seems more, it just gives us much more opportunity to take care of the business that's out there at a much quicker pace than we would be able to do it ourselves.
Well, and to your point too there, Abe, that you were saying, it is very refreshing to see this industry being able to grow from within. And to your point, you can bring in private equity, but can be some strings attached to that in a lot of cases, and perhaps not enough knowledge of the industry that they're getting involved in. So the fact that you're able to take these steps, completely, independent from, anybody from the outside is really refreshing.
Yeah, the model's different in this case. We are giving up part of our ownership in the company to bring Alex and his team on board. And we do that happily because we know we're going to be a lot more efficient as a company. We're still in business. We still have to make a profit to keep our employees engaged and benefited and working with us long term. And we just believe together it's a much better opportunity to do that than to separate.
Well, and to your point there about employees, that's the other thing that really stands out to me in this process, is the fact that you were able to maintain all the employees along the way, which you don't hear a lot of in cases like this. How were you able to make that happen?
I think, two things, Brian. One thing is Alex and team have grown to the size they are through a lot of strong people, but they've also used third-party entities to help them with some of the technology, IT side, HR side. So that's easy to meld together. The things that you think would be where we could cut people, so to speak, which we don't believe is needed, is areas that we can just layer on our team and it works very efficiently. The other side, we're going to bring folks on from Alex's team. They're going to take big roles in the company. We've grown. We've added 90 acres at our York facility in the last 3 years. Since COVID, we've grown $100 million as a company and have not expanded our team at the rate we needed to keep up with that growth. So this just allows us to take intellectual capital for Alex's team. People can find new roles potentially and gives them more opportunity. For our team, it just widens that scope even more.
Okay. Yeah, and I think I was going to say the exciting part for our team, obviously, is, all of this opportunity that opens up, right? I mean, a company our size, we were limited. We make the joke around here, with our director of sales. Yeah, you want to move up, I've got to move out. And that wasn't going to happen. Whereas now, the opportunities are limitless.
Well, and as you said, Abe, the fact that, Metrolina is always is seen as a very innovative company adapting into AI or apps or whatever, being able to give, employees in both companies a chance to really pursue those. And if this is something that I'm interested in, here's a path that I can go down that maybe I didn't have that opportunity before.
Yeah, and I always talk about, where AI is not going to replace anybody in our company, but you're going to get replaced if you don't know how to do AI. And that's not on the generative AI cool stuff you see online. It's about the predictive analytics. It's about taking data and turning it into a great replenishment model and a great forecasting model. Not stuff that's super sexy, but it's stuff that's super important in our industry that people aren't doing today.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that both of your organizations are obviously very involved, not just in the industry, but in your local communities as well. Can you talk about why that's been so important and how that will continue to be a key part of the mission of the company going forward?
Yeah, for us, we were both raised this way, right? So we should thank our parents first and foremost for putting that mentality in our mind. They have always instilled, for those who as much as giving, much is required, and I feel like both companies have just such synergies in that cultural piece of it. For us, working in the local community with our local charities and our local organizations typically ends up supporting things our employees are involved in. So it's a great glue connect for us to be involved. When we acquired Stacy's in 2014, today we are operating with 11 different charities in York, South Carolina as well. And Alex, you can just talk about we're going to double down in the Springfield community as a part of this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Our dads were heavily involved in a double harvest in Haiti together. They would travel once a month there and do work there. To Abe's point, this is something that's been ingrained in us, and we are completely committed to being good stewards of what we've been given and being just a good community members. And we want to continue being that in Springfield, Tennessee, just as Metrolina is that in Huntersville, North Carolina, and York, South Carolina. So, I don't see any of that changing. That's only going to continue moving forward, and probably even more so now that we're merged together.
As you get into 2026, and what do you see as some of the more immediate key priorities that you want to focus on, when things come together at the beginning of the year then?
Yeah, I think, we, Alex and I and our teams are super excited by this, but we got to get all our team members engaged in that discussion as well. It goes through, everybody sees it at different ways. So communication of what we're trying to accomplish is super important. So our teams see the same vision we do and what we're trying to do here. So that's one. Number two, I think clearly there, the systems mergers on the IT side are always a big part of this. All the things we think we're really good at don't work if we're not working together. And that's data analytics and ERP systems. So I think Alex and I have a lot of focus on that. I think on the business side, that's the third piece. We have to both stay focused on our daily business too. I think that gets lost in a lot of mergers and acquisitions. And so we're going to be laser focused on delivering this spring for our customers, because they will be watching that. They will be looking to make sure that everything we're talking about happens. So I think in those three levels, Brian, is where we're going to be real focused.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if our motto is going to be we're stronger together, right, then we want to make sure that our customers see a better product moving forward. And that's going to mean that we need to integrate our systems as quickly as possible. So I'm going to be pretty focused on that for the initial part of the merger.
Well, and to your point, Abe, too, there's no better time, I think, to really jump in head first and try something out when you're just getting in right into the peak of the busiest season of the year for everybody. So no better way to get through some of the most challenging parts of what could take place with this. But that's really refreshing. So so as each of you look ahead, then beyond what this means for Metrolina going into 2026, looking beyond that, what excites each of you the most about both the future of this new company and then the future of the floriculture industry as a whole?
Yeah, we've talked about it. Post-pandemic, we've not given back any of the gains we had post-pandemic. And today we look at 2026 as a growth year for our industry. So first and foremost, we're working on the landscape of a growth industry. And I just believe our combined entities, with all the core competencies we have together, can drive at a much faster rate than the industry's growing. So I'm excited by the growth opportunities. They're only accelerated, though, by the foundation of trust we have between the two companies. Typically, when the company merges with another, they're getting to know each other for a couple of years. We know way too much about each other already. I can't imagine getting to know more about Alex and I already know right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think for us, Brian, it's going to be exciting to be part of a big entity and being able to utilize all of these resources, right, that we've never been able to utilize before. An awesome ERP system, apps, a service team, all of these things, and seeing how we can drive the business even more than we already have. And then if all of that works, right, then man, what's 3, 4, 5 years from now? Who else is going to be interested in doing something like this? I mean, it's really exciting times, I think, for our industry.
Thanks for joining us. You can learn more at greenhousegrower.com. Please subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen, and please leave us a rating as it helps other podcast listeners find the show.